Well, hey folks, and welcome to Solar Cabin Channel. This is the month of May 2022, and the month of May in the US is National Bike Month. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about bikes and e-bikes, since I've been doing a lot of promoting of both on my channel. So you know, I live off-grid. I'm completely 100% off-grid. I kind of live out in the boonies, away from town, and with gas prices so high, over $4 a gallon here. I think last time I looked it was like $4.30 a gallon. Some places it's over $5 a gallon, and if you're unfortunate to live in California, it's probably over $6 a gallon by now. So as a result, a lot of people are looking at bikes, and e-bikes especially have become very popular, and because you can save a lot on gas. Also, with the older generation, of which I am, I'm almost 60, with bad knees and a bad back, e-bikes have become extremely popular because now that you're older, maybe have a few injuries, it's harder to ride a pedal bike, which I'm also going to show you here. So a lot of people are considering an e-bike, plus they get a longer distance and you can go there faster. So I'm going to be talking about the four basic styles, starting with a regular pedal bike on up to the more expensive e-bikes like the arielx. So I'm going to walk you through just some basic features of each of the bikes so you can kind of have an idea of maybe what kind of bike would work best for you based on your situation. You may not be old like I am, you may not be all beat up, you might be a younger guy and like more exercise than somebody my age does, or you may be somebody like me, retired, maybe just wants to ride occasionally, doesn't want to have to exert a whole lot, maybe has bad knees and a bad back, and you might want to consider a bike that you can still ride, still get some exercise on without maybe hurting yourself so much. So let's talk about these different types of bikes. Okay folks, so this is the traditional pedal bike, except it is a shift gear bike instead of a single speed. There are still single speed bikes out there. Not too many people ride those these days, but they are still out there. Now, this is on the lower end of the pedal bikes, and you can find these on Amazon, Walmart, Shopko, places like that, for a very reasonable price that a lot of people can afford. And they are generally, now they call this a mountain bike, even though I would not consider this taking it on any rough trails. For one thing, has very narrow tires, and because it is just not, it doesn't have the brake system that I would recommend for any type of serious trail riding or off-road riding, but it is decent for a street bike. And if you just need to go a few miles, now the average person that rides just occasionally on a pedal bike is only going to be going about 10 miles per hour, and you're going to be doing under 5 miles in distance, okay? So a pedal bike, and I use one of these a lot. In fact, my first bike that I got when I was going to college was a Huffy, which had a steel frame. It was really heavy, and I rode that thing 5 to 7 miles every day to college with a backpack of books on my back, and also going to work and going to pick up groceries. I had a rack on the back of it I put a bag on and put my groceries in it. They're very still decent bikes, okay? And for pedal bikes, they now have aluminum frames, which are a lot lighter. This bike is very light. Okay, this is an aluminum frame. It does have a Shimano, I believe, shifter, so you can shift it up. I think it's a 7-speed. Now, some of the things I would note about these bikes on the lower end, as you can see, the brakes on this are the old pad brakes, the rubber pad brakes that squeezes against the rim. That's fine if you're not going very fast, but if you get going really, really fast, those brakes are not going to be very safe. They're just not very secure. They have a tendency to malfunction. The wires may come loose. You may lose your brakes. They're not made for the speed that a lot of people are going to be riding at. And we'll talk about the different styles of brakes that are on these other e-bikes, because they go a lot faster, okay? But for general riding, just general purpose riding, these bikes are still good. Now this one does come with a sort of a rear shock, which you can find on a lot of these bikes. That gives you a little bit of cushion and compression. However, I found this, even though I rode it quite a bit, this was hard for me to pedal and ride with my back. It tended to hurt my back a lot. Also, the pedaling was just killing my knees. even in the lower gears, if I had to do any type of hill or anything like that. They're still good bikes, and generally you can get them very inexpensively. You may even find one used at a pawn shop, or someone wants to get rid of it at a yard sale. But still good bikes, and if you only need to go a short distance under 5 miles and you're willing to pedal at, maybe 10 miles per hour, a good pedal bike like this will last you 10, 15, 20 years. You can pass it down to your kids because they generally can be replaced. Everything on them you can buy at your local hardware store. You can get tires, you can get seats, you can get new shifting equipment, you can get new brake pads if you need them. And so generally maintenance on these is very low and something that you can do yourself. All right, that is the standard pedal bike. Okay folks, this is a Mitaku Cybertrack 100 e-bike. This is a 350 watt rear motor hub driven electric bike that uses a battery to power it. It also has pedals and can be pedaled like a regular bike. If you notice, the frame is very similar to the standard pedal bike. Same type of seat, same type of shifting gears, but there are some quite a bit of differences in an e-bike and a standard pedal bike. For one thing, this has disc brakes. Now these are not hydraulic disc brakes, but they are mechanical disc brakes on the front and rear. Now you absolutely need that on an e-bike because they can go at a much higher speed and you may need to stop a lot faster, so you need to have disc brakes. Now a reason I tell people that is, I know some people are taking mountain bikes like these standard pedal bikes, they're putting an e-bike kit on them and riding them at speeds where the brakes on these are not going to hold up and might not be safe, and you might get yourself in an accident. E-bikes are designed for higher speeds, generally have a better braking system than a standard pedal bike. Now, I got this and I rode the heck out of it for the first year I got it about 2 years ago, and it's still a very good bike, okay? And what I found on these lower end, now this is what I would consider a lower end e-bike, is that these will now this has a 36 volt 10 amp hour battery, which is pretty common in the lower end e-bikes, with a 350 watt hub motor. Top speed on this is going to be right around 20 miles per hour. That's it. You're not going to get much faster than that. Now in some places and in some countries, that is the maximum you can go on these bikes. In some places it's even lower than that. But generally about 20 miles per hour on these lower e-bikes, lower end e-bikes, is about as good as you're going to get. Now, you will notice that the tires on this are the same as the tires on the pedal bike. And even though they call this a mountain bike, again, I would say because of the narrow, these are like 1.75 tires, because of the narrow tires, they're not really great for riding hard trails, rocks, jumping over logs and stuff like that. They're okay for a light trail, for maybe a gravel road, something like that. These bikes will hold up, and I've taken this off-road on gravel roads and stuff like that. I tried to take it in the sand dunes where I do a lot of riding, and this thing, because of these narrow tires, it just slipped right out from underneath me in the sand. Just does not have enough surface width on the tires to work in snow, and it won't work in sand very well. But for light trail riding, these still work. And a lower end, this is an e-bike that most people could probably afford, okay? Again, you can get these on Amazon, and you're going to get about 20 miles of range if you're doing a lot of pedaling. Now, these e-bikes, something so you know, generally they have a setting so that you can set them in pedal assist. Pedal assist means that you're still pedaling, but you don't pedal near as hard as you do on a bike like this, where all of your power is coming from your own legs. With an e-bike, the motor, motor and the electric battery supplements your power, so you don't have to pedal near as hard. That's why a lot of people get e-bikes. And in pedal assist 1, you're going to get just a mild workout, not real hard. In pedal assist 2, it's going to put more power into the motor, and so you're not going to be pedaling near as hard, and you can go a lot farther and a lot faster, up to about 20 miles per hour. Now, the reason I got this bike was because I wanted to be able to ride to town. I got a town that's about 10 miles one way, another one's about 15 miles the other way. However, with just one battery, the range on this was only about 18 miles, right around there. And so I had to get a second battery in order to just make it to town and back. And the speed on it was not great. Like I said, maybe 15 to 18 miles per hour on average. And, even though it was a good bike, and a good starter e-bike. And if you don't ride a whole lot and don't want to spend a whole lot of money on an e-bike, these are great e-bikes. If you're doing long distances, or if you want to go faster, or if you want to ride off-road, you might want to consider one of these other models. If you're just going to be riding on the streets, you just need to go a few miles back and forth, you don't want to do a lot of pedaling, you want to get there a little bit faster, these are great e-bikes. And you can see I've added a rear rack on it. Again, I put my saddlebags on here, get a load of groceries and whatever. Good e-bikes on for the lower end. Okay folks, and this is the Rattan 750, which is a 750 watt rear hub motor electric bike. The battery, as you notice, is different because this bike is a foldable e-bike, which makes it kind of a specialty e-bike for people that want to be able to take their e-bikes with them. And the reason I got this is because it folds here, and the handlebars, I won't fold it in the middle, but I'll show you the handlebars fold down, and then it folds in the middle, so you can fold it in quite a compact position. And then you can put this in the back seat of your car, in the back of your truck, in your camper, or you can put it, you can take it along with you wherever you're going to go, and then you can get it out and ride it. So that's why a lot of people get these. You'll notice the handlebars on these are quite high. I was a little bit wondering whether I'd be able to be comfortable riding it, but actually because of the direction, because you're sitting upright, especially if you've got back problems, this position sitting upright is a lot more comfortable than leaning over for a lot of people. So that's why one of the reasons people with bad backs and older people like this style of handlebar. It's higher. It does make it a little bit harder to control if you're off-road because it's up higher and straight. You're not leaning over your handlebars quite as much. However, you'll also notice some other differences here besides it being a folding bike. This has a 48 volt 13 amp hour battery, and that gives you a good long range. So that's for a middle of the road cost bike. This can get you anywhere from 30 to 45 miles. I've taken it on 40-mile rides, and you can actually maintain a pretty decent speed. Top speed on this is right around 25 miles per hour. And that's if you're cranking. Now, these do have a throttle, and they have the pedal assist on them, so you can either put it in a lower pedal assist, ride along at maybe 15 miles an hour and pedal assist 1, take it up to 20 miles per hour and pedal assist 2, or if you want to go 24 miles per hour and pedal assist 3, or if you want to crank the throttle. And that's something that I think is a lot of people may not understand about e-bikes, is that throttle is really nice, especially if you're coming to an intersection where you got to get across a busy intersection with traffic. Being able to crank that throttle down and go 24 miles across an intersection is a lot safer than trying to get on a pedal bike where you have to, especially if you're on any type of hill, in order to get across an intersection, okay? So that's another reason that e-bikes have become very popular, is because generally they are safer if in traffic, if you have to get across an intersection, or in my case, I have to get across a busy highway on one of my rides. Now, this is a nice e-bike, and I would say it is kind of the middle of the road for costs. It does have some different features on it. As you notice, this e-bike has 4-inch tires, much thicker tires. These are called fat tires, most people call them. This kind of bike, the tires are designed to handle snow, slick roads, sand, and do some off-roading. Now, I said because of the style of handlebars, it's a little bit harder to handle one of these off-road, but it can do gravel, off-road trails, things like that, and it'd be a lot safer, less likely to slide out from underneath you with these fat 4-inch tires. So that's an improvement. Again, these both have disc brakes, which all e-bikes should have. This has mechanical disc brakes, front and rear. It also has shocks. This has a front shock on it, so it gives you a little bit of control that way. It also has a seat shock, which is a little bit different. Rattan bikes have a seat shock. So instead of a rear shock that absorbs the weight of the frame, it just absorbs your weight on the seat, and that gives you a little bit of cushion, so it makes it a little bit more comfortable ride. Again, this is a 7-speed Shimano shifter, and it will do about 24 miles per hour in top speed. I kept it probably around 22, 23 miles per hour when I was riding it. And I take this bike when I want to go camping, or if I'm going visiting or traveling or something like that, because I can fold this up in a nice small package. put it in the back of my truck. And instead of having to have a hitch rack on the back of a vehicle, that makes it a lot more convenient. This type also has a rear rack built onto it, which is nice. Now, this is not recommended for a passenger unless it's just a very small person, because it's not designed for that type of weight. And you would have to get the side kick pedals, the passenger pedals for one of these. But very good e-bike, front shocks, rear seat shock, and a very good distance on this. Like I said, I have done 40 miles on this, and so I know it will do that in low pedal assist 1. In pedal assist 2, you're looking at maybe 30 to 35 miles per miles, and you know, at a decent speed, that if you need to go 10 miles or 15 miles even and get back with on one battery, this bike would do that for you. So it's really good for people that like to vacation and take a bike with them, and maybe they're going to be camping up in the hills and they want to ride down to town to get supplies once in a while. These are really good e-bikes, especially if you are an older person with a bad back, or you like the more upright position when you're riding. These Rattans, excellent e-bike, again on Amazon, at a moderate, reasonable price, a little bit on the more moderate scale, middle road price-wise for e-bikes. Because it is a specialty, it is a foldable bike, that does add somewhat to the cost. All right. Okay, folks, so now we're getting up into the upper end of e-bikes, and this here is my baby. This is an arielx rider, 52 volt, 18 amp hour with a 1200 watt. Now flip these up so you can see it. This has a 1200 watt motor with 2000 watts peak. Now you compare that to the 350 watt, the 750 watt. This has 1200 watts with 2000 watts peak. This e-bike, with that big 52 volt battery, this bike will do 35 miles per hour unlimited. That's if you set it to unlimited. Standard setting is for 20 miles per hour. You have to set it to go faster than that, because it may not be legal everywhere to be going 35 miles per hour on an e-bike. Just so you know what your local laws are. Now, I love this e-bike because one thing, I rode motorcycles from the time I was 15 years old. I've been on enduro motorcycles. I rode big motorcycles. Rode motorcycles pretty much all my life. I still ride motorcycles. And this e-bike is a lot more like a motorcycle. And I like that feel. It's also built for off-road, where these other bikes may struggle. This bike has the power to be doing some serious off-road riding. As you can see, it has the 4-inch tires on it. It has a 7-speed Shimano shifter. It has good adjustable front shocks on the front. It is built solid, okay? It's not a lightweight bike. It's a fairly heavy bike, but it's built really solid. And this has hydraulic disc brakes on it, where the others only have mechanical disc brakes. This has hydraulic disc brakes on it, which gives you a lot more stopping power, which you need if you're going to be doing 30, 35 miles per hour on a bike and you need to stop. You need to have hydraulic disc brakes on your bike. And some other things I like, this has a rear shock, which you can see down there. It has a good rear center shock, give you support and cushion underneath it. Good front shocks, 7-speed shifter, and it is built like a tank. It is fairly heavy, but still light enough that I can pick it up, put it on the back of my truck and take it riding. Or in this bike I use a lot because, like I said, I've got a town 15 miles away. This bike will get me there in a good speed. I ride this maybe 24, 25 miles per hour and can go to town and back in pedal assist 2, barely exerting. And when I hit the intersections and I can go 30, 35 miles per hour to stay up with traffic, makes me feel a lot safer than some of these other bikes where I may concern, especially a regular pedal bike. I'd be real concerned trying to cross some of our busy intersections. This is more of a top-of-the-line bike, very well made, very well constructed, with a big battery, 52 volt, 18 amp hour, 1200 watt rear motor with 2000 watts peak. It can do 35 miles per hour, or if you want, you can set it in pedal assist 1, get you a lot more distance on this. I've done 32 miles on this in pedal assist 2 with some battery left over. In pedal assist 1, you should have no problem doing 40 miles, maybe even a little farther on one battery charge. You don't need a second battery. It also feels like a motorcycle or a mini bike for people that like that style of ride. It is my go-to bike for just running to town back and forth when I want to travel at some higher speeds. But I also use this a lot for off-road riding. I have a lot of sand dune trails and things that I like to go on, take my dogs for runs. This bike will handle that. It handles the snow, it handles the sand. Those 4-inch tires are very good. Those hydraulic brakes will stop you when you need to. Comfortable seat it is, and you notice I've got my saddlebags on there. These are made by Desire Path. I can put in a couple of big bags of groceries at town, bring them back, and it'll last me a couple of weeks. And so for just an all-around great bike for off-road, on-road that has great speed and a long distance travel, the Ariel X is probably right up there with the top of the line bikes. Now there are some e-bikes that are even more expensive and have even more features. Some of them have 2 batteries, things like that. But I really like the Ariel Rider, and one of the things that I can tell you that I really like about this design is the battery. If you notice, the battery is in the frame. Now this battery does come out. You turn the key and you can slide the battery out, which I like, easy to get to. But when you put it in, it's solid and secure in the frame. Something that these lower end e-bikes, they generally just have a battery that's sitting on top of a foot. And if you really have a tough tumble or a fall, or you take a corner too sharp, there's a chance that you might break that type of battery off at the foot. This battery is set right into the frame, very solid, well-made, well-built construction, locked in there. So I'm not worried about this battery falling out or getting broke, because batteries are expensive if you have to replace them. And so I've also found that all of these e-bikes you can charge fairly fast. Now I'm off-grid. I charge with solar panels. I've got a 400-watt system. I can recharge any of these e-bikes in about 5 to 6 hours from completely empty. Now generally I recommend that you don't let them run that low. Recharge your e-bike batteries when they're about 50%. Keep them between 50 and 80%, and your batteries will last a lot longer. If you want to fill them all the way up, you can. And so for long distance rides, I will fill mine all the way up. But for average riding, if I'm just going out with friends, I'm going to ride in the dunes or something like that, I keep it between 80 and 50%. And that will make the batteries last a lot longer. All right, folks, that is my collection of bikes and e-bikes for Bike Month here in the U.S. And you got your choice of a pedal bike, a lower end to a middle end to the more expensive e-bikes, and lots of opportunity. And there's lots of models out there, lots of different brands you can look at, compare prices, of course. But look at those features, look at the brakes, make sure you got good mechanical disc brakes on the lower end, hydraulic disc brakes on the upper end, and I recommend that you have the 4-inch tires if you're going to be doing any off-road riding, any riding in the slower, slick roads or gravel conditions, and have fun out there, but be safe. Make sure you're wearing your helmets. Eye protection is always recommended, because trucks driving by you will flip up rocks and things like that, or bugs will hit you in the eye. And just be safe out there, but enjoy the ride and get yourself some exercise and save yourself a lot on gas by getting yourself an e-bike or a pedal bike. All right, folks, I hope you like this video. Have a great day.